Hello everyone, welcome to this very short lecture where we're going to be looking at bolt resistance and failure modes in connection. So just how do bolts fail and how do we calculate the capacity of the bolts in a connection? So here's a summary table of many of the different failure modes according to the South African 10162 Part 1 code, and then also it's the same details as provided in the Green Book or the South African Steel Construction Handbook. So we're going to be having a look at these 7 different failure modes and how to go about calculating them, and also just a practical understanding of what they actually mean, because we've got these, as shown here, the 7 different types: shear on bolt with threads excluded from shear plane, per bolt per shear plane, and then shear on bolt when threads included in shear plane per bolt. It's very included or excluded, and then ditto for joints longer than 15D, where D is the diameter of the bolt. Then we've got our bearing resistance, bearing determined by end distance, bolts and tension, then bolts in combined shear and tension. So here's some diagrams we're going to look at and try see how to apply this. Firstly, for instance, we have a force applied to our connection. So this is a very simple single bolt lap connection. And now what happens is that we have our bolt here in the middle of a connection, and then we pull on it. And then eventually it gets to the stage where it shears through, and then it's just purely a shear failure of the bolt. And then where this diameter is D, and then our area of bolt is just the pi d squared over 4. But this is based upon assuming that it fails where it is a solid bolt. So if I have a look at the previous slide, either you can have threads all the way down, or you can have a solid section of the bolt. So the calculation we just went through now is when it fails in shear through the solid section. The problem in reality is that we have no idea what someone may actually install on site, even if you specify it correctly, that, for instance, the bolt shown at the bottom of the solid section is used. They run out of that bolt, or they're not paying attention, or whatever reason, they could use either of these. So typically it's safer to use the next calculation, where we assume that the bolt fails through where the thread is. So fails somewhere through here. So as much as the outer diameter is D, we can't use that full diameter because we lose some of the area because of the thread that's been cut into it. So let's continue on. Now for the next one, we assume a bolt of diameter D, but we have a smaller area of bolt that we use in the middle. So outer dimension, as I said, D. But what happens here is that we only use about 70% of the area. So this 0.42 is actually 0.60 from the first one times 0.7. And that 0.7 converts for thread. It converts the area into the sort of threaded area. So we end up with the reduced cross-sectional area in the middle. So yeah, that's why then you have the reduced one. And this is the one we normally use. And just to make clear something here, I've added a little subscript Fu bolt, and you'll see on the next slide Fu steel, just to make it clear, because some of these checks you use the yield or the ultimate stress of the steel, some of them use the bolt. In this table here, there's no differentiation. Everything is just F subscript U, but that could either be steel or bolt that is failing. So just be very careful with that. These are bolt failures we've checked here, and then we're going to go on to some steel failures. Now, if you have a connection where, for instance, here I have a beam, it's been bolted to a column, and if I have a long connection such that the length of that connection is greater than 15 times the diameter, then what we have to do is reduce the capacity. So then it's the equation at the bottom. It just drops the capacity because now we're starting to have other issues such as non-uniform load distribution and a bit of bending and various other things. So this accounts for the various factors that influence the connection capacity. Okay, then we move on. Now we're going to get to bearing resistance. Once again, here's our simple lap joint, and we have a force on a T subscript U, T subscript U. And here what we find is that when we pull on this connection, the bolt now actually comes up and it bears against the side here, and it starts sort of squashing and distorting the steel. So you actually have almost like a little buckling of the connection, local distortions. So this increases the capacity beyond what you might think, because for here you go at the bottom, you've got the partial factor times the thickness of the steel. So remember, this is the thickness of this member times the bolt diameter. So the bolt diameter is across there times the thickness times the resistance of the steel. So that makes sense. We're checking a area of steel like that, but then we multiply it by a factor of 3. So we actually increase the capacity over and above, quite significantly over and above that of the steel, but that you have quite a lot of plastic additional resistance in the section as it kind of bunches up. So this allows for the fact that there's a lot of extra capacity as it yields and plastifies, etc., etc. And remember, this is T of the steel that we're dealing with here. So that is then when you have bearing resistance, where the steel itself fails in bearing. The bolt is more than strong enough, but it fails up against the steel. And then we've, for instance, considered 1 bolt, but if you had 5 bolts, you just multiply this capacity by 5. Then moving on, once again, here we have another connection, a little split lap joint. Here now we have when the bolt is too close to the edge, at some distance A, from the side, the capacity is area times the thickness. Once again, this is dealing with the steel. So it's checking along some sort of failure plane. And this is for bearing resistance linked to the edge distance. And what ultimately happens here is you almost get some sort of pull-out failure where it fails something like that, and this basically just tears out of the section. So this accounts for that, and once again, this is the steel capacity, distance times thickness, so you can sort of see where the different components of that come. Then we move on to the tensile resistance of a bolt. So for instance, here is a bolt, and we put a tension force along the length of the bolt. Now, it could fail either through the solid section or through the threaded section. The thing is, every bolt has a threaded section, otherwise it wouldn't be a bolt. And the threaded section is inherently weaker, so we will always check the weaker section. So this capacity is for threads, slightly different to for shear, but you would have seen this previously when we looked at holding down bolts. It was the same thing. So here we use 75% of the cross-sectional area to account for the reduced thread area, and then it's just partial factor area of bolt. And just remember, B is still the same, pi d squared over 4. So the 0.75 converts AB into the area where there is the thread, and we always check the threaded area. Then the last check we have to do is when there's combined tension and bearing. So here what you have is that you check the ratio of the shear and the ratio of the tensile stresses. The maximum it'll go up to is 1.4 on either of these axes, and you would in theory draw a straight line between them, but what will happen is that when there's low shear or low tension, the other capacity will govern. So then it would either be the shear resistance on its own or the tension resistance on its own. So we're never going to want to let this go over 1. That gets a bit dangerous. So we will limit it to 1 and 1. But that's just the normal VU over VR. This is TU over TR. And then in between we have a, let me just draw it in another line, we have a different equation governing, which accounts for the stress in the two directions and the additional capacity that you get. And this is approximately equal to root 2. Okay. Hopefully that's given you a bit of an overview of the different failure types. So once again, either we have the bolt itself failing or the steel failing, and any of these could govern. So you would want to find the minimum of those, be it bearing resistance, be it edge distance, be it shear resistance. Any of those could govern. So you check all of them and select the lowest, and that will be then what you use for your design. So when there's a thick steel plate, chances are it is the bolt that governs. When there's a thin steel plate, chances are that the bearing resistance governs. But you may not be sure offhand, so you check all of them, pick the lowest. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an overview of bolt capacity. Thank you.